Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about building our whitewood, which is the next step in getting a pinball machine that actually has working flippers. Okay, what's a whitewood, you might ask, if you're not into pinball? Hey, it's just the name they use in the industry for a pinball Playfield prototype, just a blank kind of white piece of wood that just has the holes cut out, has some mechs attached to it, and you're practicing your shot. It's not the final paint and art and graphics and clear coat. No. We're still prototyping. We're still experimenting, right? So it's just a whitewood. All the modern manufacturers even still go through this process where they build up a whitewood and they're just practicing and testing out shots before they bother with all the rest, right? Because it makes sense. Okay, so what do we need? We need lumber. We need some wood. Pre-COVID, it was only about $50 a sheet at my local lumber store, Home Depot, where I could get a 4x8 sheet of half-inch plywood. It's not the quality we're going to use for our final Playfield, but it's great for prototyping, all right? So any local lumber yard you have should have that. Hopefully it's not going to cost you too much for that, but lumber has gone up. Anyway, so we need that. If you remember from the other video that we made about Playfield design, the standard layout that we're going for is 20 1/4 inches wide by about 45 inches long. Well, exactly, that's what we're doing. A few different ways you can go about this. The hard part now, I mean, you're going to get your rectangle cut out. That's easy. Okay, great. Hopefully you don't need instructions on that. But then we got to go through and there's all the holes we have to drill in just the right spots so things line up and ball isn't, squished when it goes down the lanes. Again, we talked about that in Playfield design. Okay, so how do we do that? A couple different routes. The route I first started off taking was I had a friend, good buddy here, who had a spare Playfield, unpopulated, just a blank sheet of wood, but it was a final production quality Playfield. And it matched the layout of the cabinet I have, and my Playfield had the same lower third. Remember us talking about that? Lower third. And so I just, hey, can I borrow that? I'm just going to clamp that down on my piece of wood and use it as like a jig and just drill through and get those corresponding holes on my side. Okay. And then use like a jigsaw, right, for some of the other cuts we had to do. I don't know about your skills with the jigsaw, but mine are kind of might leave you wanting. So not always the prettiest cuts. We got our holes pretty good. These are 1/2 inch for your flipper holes and your global illumination bulbs, and some of these other ones are kind of 1/2 inch, but then like a little longer. So then I tried to hollow it. Was not great. We used it for as far as we could, and we experimented and we had some fun with it. But yeah, I saw that was not going to get me anywhere near a final production quality Playfield. So I figured, all right, I have to do it sooner or later. Might as well do it now. It's probably going to save me time because doing it by hand, even just being 1/4 of an inch off, a handful of millimeters, that can make a big difference on these things really lining up and even just looking professionally, but even just the way it plays. All right, so a CNC machine, that's where we had to get to next. So how did we do that? I signed up to my local makerspace here in Salt Lake, Make Salt Lake, good group of guys. Went through the orientation and got access to the X-Carve CNC machine they have. Woohoo! Now there's lots of different CNC machines. Say what you will about X-Carve. It's easy, it's friendly, it gets in there, and again, it's going to be good enough for what we need to do for our pinball machine, especially just for the prototyping. All right, so that kind of took us to another level. And yay, we had a pinball Playfield, right? Well, we had lots of pinball Playfields because even after I figured out Fusion 360 well enough, I had a little bit of background in 3D modeling and design. My measurements, I took a Playfield scan of my Deadpool pinball machine. I took my scanner. I should show you that. My Canon scanner. Forget the exact model. I'll put it in the notes. But yeah, nice flatbed printer or scanner. Flatbed scanner. But unfortunately, they all have these little lips, right? So this has tape because I modified it. Time lapse. That took longer than it should have. Been a while since I popped it off. I modified it. I took off everything but one panel, and that made it to where I could actually lay it flat on the wood, because even that little lip caused distortion for the scan, and we had to have it perfectly right. Okay. Anyway, I got that down. unpopulated the lower third of the Deadpool pinball machine. I know, I'm sorry, I don't have film of that. I did this a couple months ago, guys. Remember, I'm still trying to catch up to where I'm actually at with my pinball machine. So we've already done this. This is like a dream sequence. So I put this down. I got scans. That's what I'm trying to say. I took scans of the Deadpool pinball machine. Okay, so I overlaid it inside Fusion 360. Was able to have this like a background, do my modeling around that, get things lined up right. Went through, cut it out, and it looked gorgeous. Look how clean those lines are, how great everything is. It didn't work. Things were still off just a little bit. I thought I had stitched everything together perfectly. I thought I had scaled it correctly. Apparently not quite. Just wasn't quite right. So I went through another one, and another one, and another one, and even another one. And that's my scrap whitewood. Or one of the, this one, I did both ends of this one. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We went through a number until I got everything exactly, perfectly mirrored, perfectly accurate. Everything lines up great. And we get this one, okay? Now, once we got there, and don't worry, I've got the file. I'll put it in the link in the description down below. You don't have to go through any of that, trial and error. Yeah, would have been fun to watch me blow through tons of wood. All right, save some money, use my file. Feel free to modify it, add to it as you want. It's just a simple file. You can bring it into Fusion 360 or any other 3D CAD program you have and continue to add on your other cuts to it later. Okay, but we finally got our playfield cut out. Yay! All right, then we go through and we got to put on the side rails. Okay, this is just from the leftover lumber from our 4x8 sheet. These are just 1-inch strips that run all the length of the way down to the end. One on both sides so the balls don't fall out. And then we got our very back here, right? Now, usually it's just like a solid piece of wood. Mine is cut out because we have other things going on from an upper playfield. You might have a ramp that goes behind and comes back in. There's reasons for it, right? But start with just a solid piece of wood going all the way back across. This is 6 inches tall, okay? That'll give us the right clearance. Okay, from there, then you need to go through and add in a few other little pieces here. These are the playfield hangers, okay? That way when your pinball machine is, the playfield's in your pinball machine, these hangers keep it from, the front from falling down. Okay, and then going along to the back, we've got these little brackets. Okay, this is a pinball pivot point. Okay, and then you can see. Okay, then we've got this little slide rail here. Here, piece of metal that goes across the back. You got to install those pieces. They're in my list of my bill of materials on the spreadsheet. It's linked down below. Playfield slide bracket, playfield pivot bracket, playfield hanger bracket. For all of them, I think the hanger brackets are like 10 bucks a pop. I don't know why. Anyway, all is like 30 bucks. You'll have your hardware, okay? And with that, we now have a playfield that we can put inside our pinball machine. We're missing some stuff, huh? All right, we got to install flippers. We got to install slingshots. Those are the other basic elements we need down here, okay, for that lower third. So let's do it, okay? Just the other day, my son-in-law was here, and he walked by in my garage like, Steve, what's this contraption back here? Well, let me tell you, Tanner, this is a Playfield rotisserie. Pretty snazzy. I like it. It rotates. Okay, and this allows you to put the pinball playfield on this. In fact, let's do that right now. Show you how this goes. Okay, slides in. I use just some really simple clamps with the little rubber tips. Okay, add one over here just to make things be secure. Okay, and look at that. We can now reach the playfield from all sides. Isn't that cool? I think that's pretty cool. All right, so you can make one of these on your own. It's pretty simple. Just some aluminum, what do you call it? Square pipe. Anyway, a couple of chair swivels, like Lazy Susan things for bar stools. They're connected on, some chain, It's anchored into the wall and studs with little hooks so you can get out of the way when you're done with it. Anyway, it's handy. Yeah, big shout out to Ed from Pinball Mayhem. That I saw something very similar he came up with on his pinball channel. It inspired me, and so I went through and created this version of it for myself. All right, so with that in place, it's now going to be much easier for us to go through and put things where they need to be, okay? The other thing before we get started, though, you're going to need to know is we're going to need screws, okay? A bunch of these guys, if we can focus on it. These are just number 8, 1/2 inch hex head. These ones are actually slotted. Screw heads, I got a bunch of these off Amazon for 100 pieces for 10 bucks. There's probably a cheaper option out there. I hadn't researched around. I'm sure people are laughing at me that I wasted money on these screws, but oh well. They work. You're going to need some hex drivers. These are great, or any tool that has different metric hex heads on it. These actually are standard. Pardon me. I'm used to working on bikes that are all metric. So these are some of the standard sizes. You're going to want a 3/8. You're going to want your 5/16. You're going to want 11/32, and a 1/4. Okay? Those are some of the most common sizes you're going to be messing with on pinball machines. For these little screws, we're going to need our 1/4 inch hex driver. Those are going to fit right in there like that. Okay? Woo. And we'll get to town. Time lapse. Flipper mechs installed. Now slingshots. Before we do slingshots, one thing to keep in mind. With your flipper mechs, you'll notice in the bill of materials, I have that listed separately, the left flipper and the right flipper assembly. They are different. They're not interchangeable, okay? So make sure you put the left one where the left one's going to go and the right one where the right one's going to go. Just keep that in mind, all right? Don't want to have things backwards. It's not going to line up. Your flippers are going to go down instead of up, okay? Slingshots. Now when you're going through and installing your slingshots, you might have a question about, you know, there's these kind of long slots. You might be wondering exactly about your positioning front to back. When you put it in, this is the front of the mech. These are the switches that the ball is going to come through and hit. And as the ball hits these switches, then this part is going to move forward and kick the ball back out. You want the front of these switches to be basically right up against the edge of that wood, not being touched and pushed by the wood, but right there. You don't want them slid all the way back with a gap, okay? It's not, you're never going to be able to get them sensitive. You'll start bending the switches like crazy. Just get them right up against kind of flush to that front edge of the wood, okay? And you'll be good. My file I share with you should have holes already in there that'll be like pre-drilled for you to put, but yeah, okay. In case you're doing your own or you're just wondering, actually I think my current file doesn't have those drill holes yet. I'll have to add those. So yeah, slide them to the front. But don't squeeze them. Flipper bats, got to put these in. Kind of important. All right. So these slide down in through these plastic bushings, okay, that were there. I need a close-up of this, don't I? So the flipper bat needs to go down through this plastic bushing, okay? But that needs to be tightened down to the mech underneath, okay? And it's got to come through right there, okay? It's going to come through right there. But there's this linkage here in the flipper mech, and the bat's got to come in through that hole right there, okay? So you just push it through, okay? And then we got to tighten down here. This is going to be our 3/8. Yep. Okay, and we're just going to get it snug, okay? Pretty snug. Hey, look at that. We got pretty close to where we want it to be. The final alignment, and I had a question on one of my last videos. forget your name, I think Mark. Anyway, there's a question about, what does the angle of those flippers need to be at? I talked about the distance between. I've got a file that talks about it in my tutorial. It's a good question about the angle. We're going to get to that here because the last thing we need to install are these lane guides. Okay, and again, I got links to where I got these. These are metal ones. There's also a gazillion plastic ones, which honestly, metal sounds cool, right? But the plastic ones are cheaper, and honestly, they light up and they're going to illuminate better. So you might actually want to consider the plastic ones. Up to you. But this, okay, is going to go in here on these posts and lines up with these holes, okay? And that basically is going to give you the angle you need to make sure this flipper lines up with. The top of the flipper here needs to basically line up with this line. You want it to pretty much continue. There's going to be just a slight dip to it, but pretty much just straight in line, like parallel, okay, with that coming down. And that way you'll know you've got the right line, okay? The same on each side. That's how I do it. I haven't measured. I can get out my protractor, look at the angle. I'll do that. But that's how we're going to know we're right. So we're going to get these installed, okay? And then once we have that, then we'll crank these down nice and tight and get the final position for them, okay? So let me get the other flipper in. Okay, now for these lane guides, well, they don't do much just to be flat on the wood, right? So we need some posts that are going to hold them up off the right height. All right, so over here, we got a lot of stuff. A bunch of little bins that have different stuff in them for me. And these bins here, each of them have a bag, okay? Or multiple bags. These are all labeled 1/4, if you can see that. 3/8. Just little pieces of plastic. Again, I'm sure somewhere you'll be able to find somebody who will give you the right diameter. I don't have my calipers right now. I'll measure it and tell you what that is. If I forget, we'll put it in the video. But I'm sure you can just find a thin, small tube of plastic. It needs to fit a number 10 screw inside of it. Okay, we're gonna get number 10 screws, slotted heads, okay, of varying lengths. This one I believe is 1.5. We'll fact check it over here. And then these are gonna slide down, okay, over this bit of plastic, and those are going to be your spacers. So I'm sure you can just get a long tube of this stuff and cut it down to the different heights you need. Or you can just buy them like I did off this wonderful website called Pinball Life. They have so many great things for homebrew pinball machines. You can get these. I went through, as you can see, I just got a bunch of packages in all the different sizes. I think I got like 20 of every size. But yeah, so that's what we need. So we have a bunch of those. Okay. 4 of those. And let's go back. All right, so now we have those. We've got number 10 screws, nylon lock nuts, okay? The nylon locking nuts. I don't know why pinball manufacturers do not use these. They use a few, but I'm surprised at how many things are screwed down and they're just regular nuts, or just wood screws as opposed to going all the way through. Anyway, nylon locking nuts. I mean, come on. It's just common sense. We should be using these everywhere we can. I don't want to have to keep tightening things down. I rent out pinball machines to companies for their game rooms. That's kind of like my side hustle, pinballroom.com. Hey, if you live local to Salt Lake, rent some pinball machines. I'd appreciate it. But that's like the number one thing for pinball maintenance is just going through its preventative care. You got a metal ball banging around with a lot of force. Things are going to get knocked loose. Helps out if you have a locking nylon nut. All right, here we go. Now, speaking of special posts, there's also different posts you're going to need to go around for your slingshots to hold the rubber around the slingshot. The rubber will go around in like a triangle shape. How well you can see that. And the ball is going to hit the rubber, activate the shots. Again, these are all on my sheet. There's different types of these. There's thin ones, there's thick ones. You got options. The link is on my sheet. Grab ones that you like. They're all the same height. That's the important thing. And then here's the screw you're going to need, a much longer screw to get all the way through it. All right, so there you go. That's basically our lower third. We got our lane guides in, we got our flippers on. I will still need to tighten those down. We've got our slingshots. We got all these spacers we talked about, right? We used a few here, we'll use a lot more in other places. And then rubbers. You always gotta have a bunch of rubbers when you're playing pinball. Yeah, so you can get these also from pinballlife.com. Again, they come in a myriad of sizes. 2.5-inch rubbers for around your slingshots, and they're gonna go like this. Ta-da! Okay, make sure your little metal switches are in the inside of the rubber, not the outside. Yeah, okay. And the ball is going to come through, you're going to hit the rubber, and it's going to close these switches, close the contacts, all right? Now, we'll go through and we'll adjust those. We'll make sure there's a little bit of a gap, but not too big. All right, so there we go. Okay, I'm going to tighten down these flipper bats, okay? They have rubbers around them also, by the way. You need to buy those separately also. These little guys, I got black ones. You get all sorts of colors, whatever color rubbers you want, the rainbow of options, okay? I'm going to tighten those down, get this in the right spot, and then we're going to take it on down and drop it inside our Playfield, and that'll be it for today. And in the next video, get all the power hooked up and we'll be flipping. Here we go. All right, here we are. We're back down here. Got our wonderful Playfield, and these rail guides, again, are going to slide in along these metal rails here, if you remember we put in. And then these metal hangers come down here into this lockdown bar and it holds it in place. There you go. We're ready to hook it up. Ready to hook it up and get some power. And we'll be all good to go, okay? So, hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Been getting some great comments, some great feedback. Again, hope you're following along. I hope you're going through and trying to make your own pinball machine from scratch. Please let me know if you're getting stuck anywhere, you have any questions. Contact me through my website, thepinballroom.com. There's a contact form, reach out. We can chat directly. I'm happy to walk you through anything, answer your questions. Again, I'm not the expert, but we're going through, we're figuring it out. So everything I know, I'm happy to share with you. Okay, like and subscribe. Thanks so much for following along, guys. Until next time, the next video, we will be flipping. See ya.